So here's what I'm starting with for the dozer brush rake build. Found these pieces of steel at the local shop, some cut off or dropped from something. Unfortunately, they only had 4 of them, but for 20 bucks each, I couldn't pass it up. 1-inch thick steel, 4 feet long. So the plan is to cut them in half, which will give me 8 tines across the 7-foot blade, should be sufficient. Come up to maybe, I don't know, halfway up the blade here. I've got some 4x4 box tubing that these will be notched into. And then from there, the top of the box tubing will come up to some brackets that sit up here to let things kind of pivot. So the whole idea is that this sticks below the blade. So as I'm pushing brush out of the way, I'm getting the roots as well and not moving as much dirt as I would be with just the blade. So we'll get this started. So here's the final layout, about a 9 1/4 inch gap in between each tine. So what I'm going to do now, mark everything and then notch the square tubing so that these tines recess into it. So some extra lateral strength, less likely to move side to side, of course, and all the way through the top. So I'll weld the full perimeter of everything. Then I'm going to put a bar in between here, right at the cutting edge height, to keep them from moving side to side. And then still got to design some sort of bar up top, 2 of them, that'll hook it to the blade. So here's the layout of the notches I'm going to cut to recess these tines into this square tube. That's the bottom basically. Front's going to be cut through and the top's going to be notched out, each one that far. 2 5/8 on the top and 2 inch on the bottom. The reason is with these having that arch on the back, I want the back of the tine to hit the cutting edge and the back of the square tube to be flush against the blade, just so there's no kind of twisting motion on it. This definitely should be thicker wall. I think I'm 1/8 inch, maybe 3/16. It's just what I have left over from a project, so it's gonna work. 1/4 inch would be better. We'll see. It's only a 10,000 pound dozer, but it might destroy this right out of the gate. We'll find out. All right, gonna be using the handy dandy, made in China, bought on Amazon, Cut 50 plasma cutter to cut these notches in here. If I struggle with it, I'll just switch to a cutoff wheel, but this should do the trick. Even if the cuts are ugly, because I'm still learning, the welds will cover everything up. Crank test, check. All right, let me get off this thing. Well, made some good progress today, but I am beat and out of steel, so I'm gonna call it a day. A couple little problems ran into. The amount of heat I put into these tines warped the 4x4, which I should have expected. Ton of heat and cooling on the whole front side and none in the back. So I now have a, I don't know, half-inch gap or so on the ends touching in the center. I was hoping to touch all the way across, but as I hit stuff with it, I guess those ends will just bend in. As you saw, driving the tractor on it didn't straighten it, so it is what it is. These tubes are where I'm gonna pivot off of. So I'll have a bracket welded on either side here, cut a hole, 7/8, 1-inch pin, whatever, through the center to allow this rake to pivot up and down. The tines are gonna stick about 6 inches below the blade, so it'll sit lower than it is now with the blade on the ground. And then up here, I think what I'm gonna do, weld a tube across here. As you can see, they lean forward. So as I'm pushing brush, it'll kind of keep everything captured, or if there's a small tree or something in the way, it'll push it forward instead of back on top of me. Still need to build a canopy. Another day, another project. So that's it for today till I get to the steel shop, and then hopefully get this thing up and running and give it a test. Well, welcome back. Got an early start this morning and made it a couple hours before I realized I didn't have any footage going here. So I'll give you an update as to where I'm at. So got the brackets finished up here, the 2 3/8 plate welded together to be 3/4 thick on either side, tacked in. And they're eventually going to get a plate across the back and one across the top here just to keep them from moving separate from each other. 1-inch pins are made. Got the pipes. If you can see it in there. Let's see here. Inside there's a pipe that sleeves this square tube, because this is kind of thin wall stuff. It's just what I had on hand. But the pipe is in there to be a sleeve. So I'm going to get that tacked in now and then burn those in on both sides. This side set up the same way. You can see the pipe inside there. So get that done, get everything burned on bracket wise, then I can get rid of the chains. I kind of have everything set up. The tractor's actually sitting crooked because the gravel goes that way. So it's the right height all the way across, even though those tines aren't touching and these are 6 inches down below the blade. So everything's square on the way up here. So we're gonna get to it and get these all welded on, get the pins welded on so I can lift and move everything. Then we'll get our brace across the top, another one in the middle, and then have to cut all the threaded rod that is just stuff a nice guy from work gave me that I'm gonna weld in there to keep those from bending. So plenty of welding, down to about 500 pounds of gas. So we'll see how far we get today before I run out. Okay, here we go. pin, like so. Okay. All right, let's see what it takes to get this sucker pinned on. This might be a challenge. Something like that. Holy moly. What this thing so heavy? That one easy. Holy moly. It's on. Let's go push something. All right, well, here we go. Another day and another piece of the puzzle going together. Got some 3/4 numbered 9 expanded metal from the steel shop today. Remnant piece. Picked it up for 40 bucks or whatever. Just wanted something to put in between this open up right here to give a little bit more protection. The dozer has a radiator guard on it, but the idea was just keep the brush from, I don't know, going over these tines and getting stuck in it. So since we actually have, I know, sunshine, blue sky, listen to me out in California complaining about the winter, but it's been a soggy one for us for sure. So we have good weather. We're gonna get this welded in. With any luck, get this thing finished up and painted today, but we'll see how it goes. Got a few hours. So we'll dive into it. clearly am not a painter. I struggled with it. I had to turn the camera off. You didn't want to hear what I was saying. But it worked. For what it is, gonna go on the front of a rusty old tractor. Maybe someday itself will get painted. But for now, this is gonna be good enough. I'm gonna keep the camera far away so you can't see all my runs. So we'll let this dry for a little bit, and then gotta figure out how to flip it the other way without scratching my new paint. And then we'll put it back on the tractor. Well, so here it is in its pretty much final form. Pinned onto the tractor, painted good enough for the job it's gonna do. And I didn't pay attention, got all excited putting in the expanded metal and didn't leave room for my brackets to cut through here. So I had to cut it after I painted. What a ding dong. Oh well, that'll be easy to patch up and touch up the paint on it, but it should work pretty good. Well, that's it for the build of the dozer rake. Next step will be to take it out in the field and see how it performs. So thanks for following along. Hope you enjoyed it. Please give the video a like, the channel a share, and subscribe. Thanks.